Hi, my friends and family. My name's Trey, and today I have a talk for you called If the False Self Seems Loving, It Always Comes with a Hook. You know, you might seem like the kindest person in the world at that moment. The sun beaming down between the leaves. Yeah, and the birds darting out of the tree. Everything's so here, it's so clear, you can feel it. Everything here is so near, you can see it. How are you doing, my family? And so, if the false self seems loving, it always comes with a hook. Or, how could someone rescue you and yet forget you exist or not care, not respect you at all? Because in the cycle of narcissistic abuse, in what's called hero narcissism, that's how it rolls. How naive we humans can be when we are unaware of the multidimensionality of this amazing chance to exist or live, dance in the soul. Let go and let God. Get on your knees, and while you're at it, donate your firstborn son to Yahweh as a blood sacrifice, and God will save you forever. Was that Abraham that was asked to do that? As soon as he agreed to it, then the lower D said, "No, that's okay. I just needed to know that you would be willing to sacrifice him." In my case, it was like an attempted soul sacrifice. So I'm sure my mother was told I was mentally ill my whole lifetime, as well as told that my IQ was so high that it would be harmful to me psychologically to tell me how high it was, because I might develop NPD. Maybe they almost knew what it was in the 1970s, but they didn't want to admit it, as of till the turn of the century. So, all folks such as myself who'd be willing to risk their life to bring the light of the true Christ back to this planet, of course, are always going to be targeted, as long as the dark ones have, so much political or financial clout and power. And again, systems mastery. After she begged me for 3 years to take an SSI check for so-called mental illness, I finally went to the interview, as I had systematic MRSA for over half a decade, and my main income source was roughly $5 a day I earned collecting cans. It wasn't until I learned what CNPD, and again, I agree with the bigwigs in that I'm totally wrong if I diagnose any of my bloodkins or myself with this, although I have the clinical nine characteristics in mind when I make these claims. So after I learned what CNPD and collective or heroic narcissism is, then I finally realized why I was so heavily coerced into codependency. I'm still healing, sometimes the painful way of reenacting it in this psychological battle of this 2024, and I'm still healing my CNPD and learning boundaries, and whether I learn it the wrong way or the proper way, because I'm still enmeshed. I'm still allowing myself to fall into that net. And I wouldn't say it was due to laziness, although to the slavery matrix, they perceive it. Actually, it's like, sure many people think that I'm wrong to share with the Alphabet Corporation or Rumble, and they have the right to their opinion. But the thing is, I share freely with the entire planet because everyone included, because I think it's not it's the end of this era of secrecy. It's false dominion of secrecy. So, but in collective or heroic narcissism, it's that. It's like this group, you see it all the time in California, in the socialism, and from the government to the clubs, clubs such as BLM and Antifas that are funded by George Soros, supposedly. So, we see it all across, the ballpark of all different sorts of collective or heroic narcissism. It's a small group that thinks they're going to save the world, and they're all there's usually one dictator or leader that's totally has NPD really bad, but they've got a high IQ and brilliant, and they can kind of keep it stuck together. But so being involved with some of these in California is how I finally realized I was so heavily coerced into codependency to begin with them. There's no thing or person that is free in an energy-sucking, loose harvest prison planet matrix. Only when I, or you, or anyone, only when humanity, and even possibly, as Mark Passio says, over half of humanity learns to walk the talk. But maybe it's a smaller percentage. Some claim it's a much smaller percentage than that. Until we, as a collective, like at least 20-30% learn to walk the talk, finish the majority of my shadow work. Personally, like fully be willing to do the shadow work. 100%. It's a challenge to break out of your old patterns sometimes, and physical healing as well, actually purifying my diet and getting rid of all of my bad habits to the point where I can, at least for several days, take a break from every single deadly habit I have so that I can fully let my body heal. So, until I'm willing to learn how to financially or learn enough to farm, be willing to chop the heads off some animals or fish and catch fish, or learn how to farm or hunt, wildcraft, forage, that, I become a sovereign person free of hypocrisy, until I don't really need to go shopping at the grocery store, man. To some degree, I'm being a hypocrite if I participate in the system. So, first thing is, psychologically, is you have to know what loose or narcissistic supply is within a CNPD or hero enmeshment. Okay, so in other words, so I've had one's a overt narcissist predator. Okay, through him I made the first 2 videos about them, and I got shadow banned right after that. The next video I made talking about Yahweh, but around the same time I had my full audience, and when I began, and so the other guy's mother, like me, his mother's a Libra, and sun sign Libra, and he learned, she's strangely a Libra astrologer, and he learned to turn the other cheek or whatever. So this guy just kept, actually I coined the term narcissistic predator entities to on his behalf and some other people's behalf, because I'd rather, the shaman in me, I'd rather honor that they're really not this evil. The shaman in me would rather honor that certain people that have been close in my life are really not that evil. They're just possessed by these spirits of Lucifer, narcissistic predator entities, okay? So that's why I coined the term NPE. So, but the collective or heroic narcissist is someone who, they're so invested in saving the day, man, they're going to save the planet or save hundreds of people's lives. They'll slap their kid, or they'll, or whatever. They'll treat you like shit, or you don't exist if you work for them, etc. So, it's a weird thing. So, only when I'm 100%, but I'm still, having spent 20 years on my astrocartographical Chiron line and around SoCal, California, especially after I was 5 days in the ER after I broke 15 bones on a traffic accident, I feel like I can teach while I'm still wounded. you know, because I learned, I was given a second chance, and that's actually why I started this whole Gnostic Online Truth Freedom Ministry, because I'm here because I was given a second chance by the real Creator, you know, and I don't take that for granted. Whether I get shadow banned or demonetized or, you know, whatever, it makes no difference. Because if I can help one person, if I can awaken, help two people to get real with the Christ, a little more, you know, even. I remember when I was a first born again Gnostic teacher, barely in my early 30s, around 33 years old, 35, and I was really enthusiastic and emphatic about the Christ awareness. And some young man, I probably smoked a bowl or a joint with him along Westcliff Drive, and then I saw him again like 2 years later, and he said, "Look in the back seat of my car, man." And I was like, "What's up?" And I vaguely remembered him, and he said, "I talked with you, and you were talking about the Christ, and he said, look in the back seat of my car, and there was a book of Gnostic scriptures, and you know, and I was like, wow, like it's a really good feeling, you know." And so when it's the helper's high, you know, it's the motivation, really, you know, to be human with it, even if I have to use these damn and blessed, hijacked, and extremely powerful and benevolent gadgets to since the gadgets took over. As long as, you know, 99% of humanity was coerced and felt forced to get a microwave cell phone, and due to a large misadventure that I'll detail later, that I've really been enjoying taking a break from one. So anyway, so I was just watching of all people, Peter Santinello's latest video. I think he's been coming out with one every Saturday for years, and I love his show, and he missed, you know, he's got millions of subs. He only ever did one video that I can remember, that although he talks trash about welfare many times, he only did one video that exposed the New World Order, but it was really good, and it was about, he interviewed this guy whose great grandfather brought his grandmother over here under Operation Paperclip, and he asked her what it was like to be shipped over at age 5, and she's like 90 something, but the guy he was in the Iraq War, and he claims to just be obedient to his command, and he didn't question the war narrative or anything, but he brought out documents that he got from Warner von Braun. I was like, whoa, like. And then, but Peter Santinello has not done any other videos that were political, and so until now. And this young man, he's in Massachusetts, and if you wanna know, you know, some front lines activity on what's going on with the New World Order, right there, that video will show you. It's how in Massachusetts a bunch of motels have been repurposed to house possibly, you know, illegal immigrants or immigrant families, they claim, for the BA's obedience to the Agenda 2030, in my opinion. It takes a lot of energy for a human to even exist, let alone live in freedom and psychological chains. As a financial codependent, you're not as much of a human battery as a wage or property tax slave, but loser and the Archons still adore, you know, their welfare recipients, and they're disabled, they're tweakers, they're fentanyl addicts, they're Kingston Street dwellers, junkies, drunks, thieves, and government check takers. Those still stuck in mental illness and physically sick, because they all are good, consistent, almost always permanent loose sources. In other words, if they stay stuck in the dependency, you know, down and out in their physical, you know, disability, physical or mental disease, or, you know, drug addiction, They're always feeding the negative alien entities just surrounding those places. So I was pretty tired of trying to exist in California with help using the shower trucks. I mean, again, besides the fact that I was giving Thanksgiving prayers constantly, and I was thankful for the services, the socialist generosity of the socialist, the redundancy to, I had probably more than one lifetime as a Buddhist monk, and I was really well tired of somebody else telling me when to ring the bell, according to my astrology, and I agree with that. But ironically, I have the North Node in Libra, so I'm gradually learning how to get along with people at all, even. So, but they had this newest socialist thing that was actually not evil, but good socialism. There's these people. They told me they had a barbecue with hot dogs and hamburgers and a cookout to raise the funds. And they all were, they were all renters probably in Midtown Santa Cruz, and and then there was another one in Aptos, and the one in Aptos twice a week. You could go and get a shower, and it's so less abusive and oppressive than going to the homeless shelter or the Catholic soup kitchen. Tweakers would throw things at the door if I was a minute over 10, and get violent and yell at you and stuff. And usually they serve about maybe 5 or 10 homeless people or van dwellers. A van dweller homie of mine told me about it, and so I enjoyed. It made it easier, but of course I had the purest water in Santa Cruz there next to my home is cold mineral spring water. And I was unwilling to join a haunted gym again during the lockdown, the one I was in, they took $300 out of I was stupid enough to give the gym my checking account number, my savings account number to get money out of my bank account, and they took $300 out of my bank account while the gym was closed. So I felt uncomfortable staying there, and I quit, and the other gym was just haunted by the homeless people and van dwellers, smelly, impoverished people. Like, unless you went at certain hours, it was crowded in there, so, afraid of the attacks I'd get if I tried to move. Well, I just went through an interesting, time about that. I came back to stay in my too long in my sibling's house here. How could I publish 500 videos and not have established some type of income or consistent offering of helpful service from these free offerings? I caved in. 17 years ago, I gullibly accepted a dumb idea against my will that I could become a shaman or healer, as a codependent and reestablish the New Earth Army, and I stupidly thought I could, the Jimi Hendrix, inspired within me. I thought I could single-handedly save the world with my music, but lately, it was more recently, it was that I thought I could serve, in the last couple of years, I thought I could serve people wisdom as a disabled dude in a campsite and crawl out of the decrepitude of CNPD and inverted government assistance, and coming from these codependent family systems. I am not a victim. A covert narcissism is all about psychological laziness. In some ways, I have been psychologically lazy, like let's say facing my germophobia, because my brother he's got this trigger now that he's had to he gets offended that I wear the rubber shoes in the shower, and I said, well, maybe I'm just still germophobic, just after all I've been through. I admitted to it, but I'm not claiming to be a victim. I fell for the learned helplessness of codependency, thinking this emotionally sick pattern would be temporary. Of course, that's what they always think. All the dumbasses who fall into that pit. But again, it's like these idiots who claim to be, narcissistic, who are really handsome, and I shouldn't call them idiots, but just there's 3 or 4 others beside me that, that are just, claiming to be trying to heal their own But they're, so my mom and sibling likely could not watch hardly any of my content. Maybe they have tried, they attempted to. Having allowed all of this to grow, at least before I got shadow banned, having allowed all of this to grow my internal sexual misery programming, getting lazy there again. I'll admit sometimes that, I agree with the Archons that laziness might have been my biggest flaw, so having 150 CIA or NSA censors and, the inverted algorithm beast of alphabet to be my co-pilot, having them monitor and control my audience, shadow banning and erasing or limiting comments, and I've only got like a couple of comments and 500 videos, and whatever, because people might put potent comments into my videos, right? So erasing or limiting my comments down to almost none, or except without learning computer programming or getting someone, hiring Clement Grade or someone else to work with me, this is my karma according to the beast, so, but, I was thinking I'm going to have to get this guy to call me so I can hear his voice. It's like, all you people on Rumble who want to be my agent, if you can call me and talk to me, then maybe we can talk about it. Okay, let's put it that way. As much as God bless his heart, I might vote for him for president, Dr. Shiva. He's a write-in candidate, because he's a Ophiuchus. He invented emails. I mean, this guy's an Ophiuchus, brilliant guy that, but he was an untouchable as a boy, and he got a PhD and taught at MIT, and so, because he tells the truth, he doesn't play games with the destroyer angels, he exposes them, and I find it fitting. He's from India, his name is Shiva, but he moved here when he was 5 years old or whatever, so he went to the whole U.S. school system in New Jersey. Now, a lot of people find him to be hard to deal with because he's from New Jersey and he'll cuss you out in like 20 seconds, but he's legitimately, he's an Ophiuchus named Shiva. I mean, he's legitimately, and he's super courageous. Like, he's willing to wrestle the Kundalini. He's willing to wrestle the destroyer snake angels down and say, look, no, you're not. We're going to have a respectful, we're going to go by the Constitution and have respect, okay? So, but working through a platform with 150 CIA censors, or, working through another platform that's funded by Mr. T, or, Mr. T and Mr. Thiel, I'd receive about 20 comments from Trumbull, all from folks who wanted me to pay them. Okay, I got a couple of comments of people that just said, "Oh, cool videos, and I'll subscribe," yada yada, right? And I was like, "Thank you." And about 15 or 20. Now, I'm not trying to brag or complain. I'm just telling you, this is my experience. About 15 or 20 people trying to get me to pay them to be my Rumble agent and take the whatever the locks off there and keep it so that make it so that I could have unlimited earning. But it's the opposite of if I went to Hollywood and got a record deal. Instead of paying me a lump sum to record the record, they want me to pay them a lump sum to get my audience going, So I pretty much usually email all of them and say thank you or whatever, respond by thank you. And lately I've been deleting those comments because I just find them depressing. And you have a great and beautiful, wonderful content. I have some tricks that can help you to increase your audience. Pay me $300 a month, and I'll help you to get I'll help you to get your real audience. It's like, well, this really makes me want to go to Trident Technical College over here and learn basic computer marketing. So I still have to admit, like I say, laziness and procrastination were always two of the nails in my coffin. I'll agree with the Archons on that one, man. Like, if they ever get me, it's that, So, anyways, the Archons' skills at divide and conquer in our minds are pretty fake, temporary bandage solutions for mine and everyone's problems, like allopathic remedies. Were all designed to, not only just to cash in and keep you hooked, but to psychologically reinforce trauma bonding to the false self. That's what it's all about, okay? As long as you believe those voices that made the school shooters do what they did, as long as you believe those voices that make you have to control your loved ones against their will and impose your authority on them, as long as you believe you are the voices that tell you to be depressed and never connect with other people and take more drugs, as long as you believe those are your voices, whatever they say, the derogatory voices that scream in your head. As I've said many times, the Buddhists knew that these things were radio sets. Check my. It's funny, just as I moved out of that community in Santa Cruz Mountains, there's a man just in his 70s or his late 60s. He began to focus on basically using his degree in psychology to do shaman work. And his book is called The Others Within Us. And Robert Falconer is his name. And he's really doing some groundbreaking work because also using the work of psychologist Dr. Richard Schwartz's idea of internal family systems is maybe 20 years old. It's been going on, and it's a modern school of psychology that it basically says that instead of saying that only people with dissociative identity disorder, or what used to be called multiple personality disorder, have different voices in their head, it's the idea that all of us have different voices in their head. Now, if you want to know what I feel about IFS, I'll tell you this, is that I don't really, I see the validity of it, but for me personally, I find it more simple to just to go by the rules I laid forth on my broadcast, and that's that the voice of the Holy Ghost, the divine Christ, is not harmful. It never tells you to harm others or yourself. It never tells you to be verbally abusive or act like an idiot, to get afraid, to be manipulative or coercive. It's the opposite. She teaches us peace, and respect. And so it's connecting. It's not separating. So it doesn't feed off misery. It feeds off peace. It feeds off awareness. Because we are her children. She doesn't want us to suffer. Believe it or not, she's not a narcissist psychopath. It's just she was so totally pure and open-minded that she didn't know people like the Syrians, like the Anunnaki, like Lucifer, like the Elohim, like the masters of deception, the rainmakers. She allowed them to somehow get her DNA or reproduce. I don't know the story exactly, it happened so long ago, but somehow, we got mixed in and hybridized. We have been the aliens for millions of years, probably a million years now, okay? So, but at least with the majority, if not all human, like I say, with BG, it might be a teeny tiny percent, but everyone has a little bit of the original Christos race within. So the potential for peace and awareness and respect and oneness is within all beings, even the Draco. It might be the tiniest fraction in there. But all the MM's remedies were designed to reinforce trauma bonding to the false self. What does that mean? Sure, I could work hard to publish 500 videos about the truth, about healing, about knowledge and awareness, but my mother and my brother stuck in the 3D matrix cannot see any value in that at all. No, they wouldn't be interested in helping me, or getting involved or anything to do with it. Well, my mom said if I allowed her to build my website, she teaches computer programming in a university, because she took all her shots, and she insists upon using Google to do it. And I'm just tired of working with Google, man. I made 500 videos with Google, and they didn't really want, it's going to take me almost 400 more subscribers before they'll allow me to make any money off it. And and Odyssey.com has paid me $15 for the same amount of content there, $15 in library Bitcoin. And Peter Thiel has paid me 10 cents or 15 cents now for all my content I've shared on Rumble. So Mr. T and Mr. T think those two billionaires think I'm worth 15 cents. And the Sacred Clown and my dear friend, it's a libertarian Congress candidate in a state that outlawed geoengineering, the only state I know of next to Tennessee and New Hampshire, He's gave me $15 worth of library Bitcoin for my content there. Whereas it's going to take a minute before Google's going to think I'm worth anything. So, okay, so, because it's a competition, you know, so. Anyway, so, because of the 3D mentality, they cannot see any value in that at all, and, you know, don't realize that, you know, there's so many different ways. If I was willing to trust somebody, communicating with them only by email, now why would I, again, does anybody think I'm not paranoid for that? I mean, okay, give me a call. If any of you people who want to be my agent really want to help share my videos, then give me a call. How about that? Okay. That way I can discern, you know, your honesty better. I'm not trying to claim perfect intuition skills from the fact that my friend or my acquaintance, Mr. C.G., can actually write a really beautiful email. You know, I'm not sure how much NPD psychopathy is involved by just your beautiful emails. But if you're willing to call me, that's different. See? Okay, I'm going to draw a line there. Since you try to get in touch with me again, two of them have been persistently tried to, at least two of them. I'm flattered, man. I'm thankful. If I was a narcissist, I'd be thankful for that supply, okay? But still, the only way I'm going to let you, the only way that we can have a team is if we have a little more equanimity than it being like the car mechanic thing with I'm a rich person or whatever, you know. It's just, I'm just psychologically rich and sharing, you know, sharing all that psychology that, you know, I've learned. I'm not, I'm just a baby. I'm just a first grader teacher in spirituality, wisdom, and self-respect, teaching a humanity that through the inverted Illuminati mainstream matrix has been taught to have no self-respect, no self-awareness, no multidimensionality skills. I'm just here to teach basics to the normies. That's one of my main goals. And as well as, again, because I want to say, David Wilcox, where's my hover car? I'm ready to get a 0-point car now. I'm done with it. Okay, so they could never consider even thinking about how much effort I've put in, what my goals are, and the fact of creating some service to humanity in this way. And again, it took me smashing 15 small bones under a fucking PG&E truck, supposedly, and 5 days in the ER, and having all those heal through California sunshine, bone broth, CBD, and THC. 6 months after that, I began my ministry right here. I realized I have to give back. I can't withhold. I can't be a self-help book junkie and a Buddha mind wisdom book and a, you know, shaman book junkie for 30 years and not give. Okay. So, and the fact of creating some service to humanity in this way was one of my goals. So even if I help one person or 3 people or 25 people enjoy this and learn something, well, then it's worth it. Without a marketing expert or learning editing and video bells and whistles, obviously that's part of the homework I really need to eventually face, if not have the regain the trust to hire one of these people. You know, without learning the editing and video bells and whistles skills, YouTube and Rumble seem to want me to think I've just given all of that to a couple people with the shadow bands on the algorithm, and with all proof that where's my mutual conversation online? You know, of course, when I began transmissions, I intended for it to be an Aquarian, expansive, mutual conversation. So let me know what you think about this video. Give me a comment. See if you can self-censor if you're going to click send or publish on YouTube, because if you don't, they'll just delete it. Okay, most of it is erased. You know, it was a good amount of work, at least a decent amount of work I put into that. Most of it, you know, whatever comments were put there were erased. You know, is working after a shadow ban, trauma bonding to the dark side. Is working after you get a shadow ban on your entire channel, trauma bonding to the DS disgraceful plans? Question mark, rhetorical question. Okay. Again, this is not a pity party. I like to expand awareness any way that I can. So I just subscribed to a shaman, on the other hand, with a PhD, a European guy. I think his name is Ahmed, who does great online live healings, and his YouTube channel is called The Wizard of Wavenhoe, with only 300 subscribers, to prove it's not a fucking pity party, okay? 330 something subscribers. And he has a PhD in computer science. He has like 2 PhDs, and he's using the rattle and doing rattle shamanism live on YouTube right now. So, man, you know what? I always thought if I got a degree, because Neil Mohan said it openly several years ago when he became CEO, I'm going to promote professionals and not promote people in their, in their closet, their basement, or their, what if it's the guy in his brother's storage room who studied self-help book and psychology and shaman and Buddhist books for 35 years and applied some of those skills and wants to teach, Your judgment might be of what a professional is might be wrong. Now, sometimes I get serious medicine from amateur YouTubers. And there's another one called a Wonder Junkie, A with lowercase a, large W, A Wonder Junkie. And this guy's got a brilliant channel. And you got Dr. Jack Cruz, you got the guy who created After School on there, and a bunch of other psychedelic medicine, legal PhD psychedelic medicine practitioners. And it's a wonderful, and flotation tank people, and it's a wonderful show. And he's only got like 130 subscribers or whatever. Or he's got maybe a couple hundred now. But again, it's like, it's not just me. It's the topics I talk about. It's that one name, of course. But so check these guys' works out, man. Both the channels I mentioned here. I'm sure probably every single person who watches this video, you probably love both of those channels, because the thing about the Wizard of Wavenhoe is that he talks about all the things I do about the Anunnaki, about the Saturn Moon Matrix, about how they enslaved us and think of us as farm animals, but he says it from a point of respect and honor, from the designing, because he got a PhD degree in computer design, and so he understands how well they achieve their goals of dominion and design and control and take over and all that. So, and he understands as a shaman that you have to. And it's interesting because I spent 20 years of my existence in this flesh suit in California this time, and before I ever moved there, I started with Castaneda when I was 16, but he didn't have a PhD. But 2 other guys, Dr. Vallejo and Dr. Alberto Vallejo, and Dr. Jose Stevens got PhD. Latin American guys got PhDs out of California, but this guy's got the reason why I bring him up is because my brother was complaining about my angry street preacher voice, and when I think he heard me recording the J. Manuel video when I was kind of getting intense, and I said some people like that, but this guy has a very gentle voice, almost sounds like he's faking it, but you can tell he's very compassionate, and so it kind of saddened me to see, he has such a small audience, and but again, it's suppression of the information, and so it just goes to show how powerful his work is, and also that the medicine goes to those who are ready as well, I thought if I had a degree, I would be able to transcend the issues, it says. And so another horrible, the most painful story I have about this topic just happened to me recently, and I've been getting milk at this place, and it's an 8-mile bicycle ride, and beautiful down the greenway here through the beautiful islands with nothing but ferns and live oak trees and Spanish moss, except the island's overrun with middle class and traveler, wealthy people of all sorts, middle and upper class people that moved in there, running to work, and at a high speed, a lot of cars down a 2-lane highway, but they only have a very small raw dairy, and they're very nice people, but they named their farm after an Old Testament book, and I got a little piece of some bubble. I was really in a really good headspace, and I went over there. And the time before I went over there, it was during the hurricane, and they actually drove me to the grocery store. But I would make an appointment several days in advance to get some milk, and I went to the grocery store, and they insisted on driving me to the grocery store that day because it was Hurricane Francine. So the next time I went over there, they offered me, they said, Trey, what are you doing this fall? And I said, why do you ask? And he offered me a beautiful apartment, and he said his son was moving out, and a little work trade, a dream job. And, from my perspective, and right on my Saturn on the descendant line in astrocartography in my only sibling's house, 3 miles from the hospital I was born, during a Saturn retrograde. And I'm thinking, I must have pulled like 10, 15, maybe, I don't know, at least 5 or 10 tarot decks asking over the course of like 3 or 4 days. He said, well, first we'll have to meet you for lunch, and then we'll go from there, come over for lunch. So we talked for like 30 minutes that day. It's an older couple, and we talked, and he's a brilliant guy, and I love him, But the thing is that this guy's been praying to God, the Father Almighty, and I think it might be the Old Testament God his whole life, And he told me, and that was part of what a lot of what our discussion was about. But somehow, I feel like somehow that Yahweh had me. Yahweh is so masterful at manipulation that he had me convinced that he was loving and discernment. That because I was talking about how it's the gentle voice, the gentle, respectful voice in our heart that's the real Christ, and he was agreeing with me, and how that voice would never tell us to hurt others, and he was agreeing with me. But then what I did is I went and I read the Old Testament book he named the place after, and it was beautiful. And the scripture, we talked at that, the scripture he named it after is really beautiful, and I said it was Aquarian because it was talking about feeding the whole village and taking care of the village. Then I started to read I read most of it, and until I got to the part where Yahweh was condemning, saying to burn Sodom and Gomorrah and to burn off the village that was evil and stuff like that. And anyway, so I just, I just discerned, and it took me 4 days to decide, but, you could say I chickened out or I'm afraid, but I think I was, trying to avoid danger, because the shadow ban wasn't the only punishment for, in mind for making those videos about the Y word. It was also, so I've learned, okay, over the decades, like from what I explained earlier in this video, that somebody could come at you with whatever you want. And again, this is how powerful Lucifer, the Elohim, the Yahweh that they are. They can come at you with whatever you want, the Anunnaki junior gods. They can come out with whatever you possibly want and seduce you with it and say, look, if you're weak in any way. And but the thing is, I wanted to believe. See, what happened is the voice told him to give the apartment to me. Now, see, I wanted to believe that was the voice of Yeshua or Jesus, the Christ. And we were talking. I was convinced it was, and it's all good, right? But then I had to think about it for 4 days. Now, why did he put the name of his farm in Old Testament book? And so it turns out they're probably really hardcore churchians, and it's a possibility that let's just say it's a strong possibility that Yahweh told him to put me in that house to put me in to try to seduce me with a wonderful, beautiful situation so that I wouldn't be a Gnostic teacher, because I don't think I could be myself as a Gnostic teacher there without him kicking me out, because I'm an anti-salvationist, and I even say that the voice of the true Christ is actually divine feminine. So that was probably the most subtle and beautiful way that the junior gods have ever tried to pull me back into the fold. I mean, like a dream-like, and also this whole town is like a dream-like level of beauty, a dream-like beauty, the warm ocean, the tropics. But you know, this town was the Civil War. You know, it has the history, the bloody history from the Civil War. You know, and they named the streets after, you know, Cannon Street, and it still has a military. There's a military. So I went from 20 years having a home 2 miles from a place where they teach people to hate the opposite gender in a university system to a place where they still have a military college. So I don't really fit in too well in Charleston politically or spiritually. You could say they call it the holy city, and sometimes I bring up that D.I.Y titled one of his books. His website, his books are all self-published, by the way, in case you didn't know, but it's called Humanity, Get Off Your Knees. When you know the basics of what NPD is, you'll know why YouTube, Rumble, the government, my mother, and my brother could do such a tremendous amount to help me out, yet never even acknowledge anything I've done as valuable, especially since it didn't earn money. You know, and I didn't have that degree in programming or know what the flunk I was doing with the numbers. And if you get the dynamics, you'll understand why I could load the truck for milk in a work trade with total devotion, to the point where this old couple called me, you know, Old Faithful, because I would always do this work trade. You know, of course I love their milk, but still. And why? You know, they said they were going to have me over so many, you know, at least a half dozen times or whatever, and I never went over there. It's a very, very strong, it's like the reggae nights with this guy. It's like, this is what happens, like, you know, in the love bombing phase, they'll promise you the exact things you want to do. They'll find out what you want and then promise it to you, and then they'll forget you exist. And you think, how in the flunk could this hero, could this dear divine person who's a total awesome Christian or awesome activist with this club, how is this bloodkin of mine that loves me so much going to just save my life, and then they only talk shit about it when you bring up your dreams later, after they promised to take you there, you know? Well, it's because it's the cycle of NPD, okay? So that's how it works. So when you get the dynamics, you'll understand why I could load the truck of milk in a work trade with total devotion, watching several other employees, except for one person that quit and then came back to work there after quitting for several years. Maybe because, like, the landlord here tells me it's an addiction. So she was addicted, and she has the same zodiac sun sign as him, and she even told me she's addicted to the milk. So watching other employees come and go several times, aside from the owners, for years, you know, I could be invited to the farm numerous times, even the more recent time that they're going to help me to build a teepee and grow weed. And then they forgot I was there for several weeks. Now, they have a lot of responsibilities. That's what they're going to tell you, because they're saving hundreds of people's lives with their milk. But again, one of the greatest victories in this psychological battle against the dark side of their personality was when their son, the same zodiac sun sign as them, who sadly kind of got taken by the beast, so to speak, and with pharmakia, a little victory battle one time as they kind of flipped from being the kind-hearted hero to cussing or raising their voice, or just raising their voice and yelling at me and him. And he said, "Mom, stop yelling at Trey and me. It's not okay." And I was just so thankful that he did that, you know, stood up that one time to the voices of control that when they go to the negative, when they go on the dark side. So again, the way you can tell is they're always going to be better than you, or they're never going to be equal to you. They're never going to have. They'll claim to have oneness, but they'll always have a superiority to you. They'll always act like they're your parents, even when they're acting like they're 2 or 3 years old. That's why narcissistic personality disorder can make you feel so crazy, because when the person's telling you off and they're acting like they're a toddler, but they think they're your parent. They think they're your. Sam Vaknin said it's a mommy complex. They think they're your mother or your dad or whichever you want to call it. But again, it's also the archonic voices piping in, making it worse, or maybe they created the whole damn thing. So, yet, YouTube or Rumble or the government, my mom, they can just only cursory, they could just say, oh, well, congratulations, kid, and then forget I did it, because I'm from a Freemason family. They want to help me out a little bit, so yet never acknowledge anything I've done as valuable, especially since it didn't earn money. And if you get the dynamics, you'll see how this works. So why a hero narcissist or narcissist collective can save the day, yet never honor the victims of the rescue, like, give you, like the born-again Christian Bible thumpers can give you a hand out, but not a hands up. They could even give you a shower once or twice a week, or a meal with a bunch of hydrogenated oil in it, but they can never think of you as an equal. And some of these, several of the people at the shower truck, when I kind of was not being so disciplined and I began talking about gnosis and wisdom, they'd kind of talk over me with their friends about Bible thumper philosophy or something, Why would it always make you smaller? Okay, when you're in the cycle of narcissistic abuse, narcissistic families, or whatever, your so-called friends, they'll always make you feel smaller. You know why? Because they feel they're totally so insecure. As long as someone, the amount of duration that someone believes the archonic voices are themselves, they become a black hole parasite, energy parasite. They believe it's who they are. Okay? It's really sad, So the hero or the collective, not the covert, but the collective or the hero narcissist can appear to be so benevolent that you don't. Sometimes you'll forget that it's a narcissist until you see the red flags. Again, the superiority, when they can turn their empathy on or off, it's a horrible feeling to have, I'll tell you. So, because at the center of every narcissist, someone high on the scale of narcissistic personality disorder, or NPD, is a black hole. A victim or someone to rescue is the supply, okay? Pardon me. So to a hero narcissist, someone to rescue is what they want to feed the black hole, the vampire hole, the endless, what the Buddhists call the hungry ghost. The voices of a hero narcissist trying to save you are their false self. Okay, so originally when this person began this occupation or this activist group or government nonprofit or this politician, when they began, sure, they might have, or most of their personality, they wanted to help others and save the world. But as they go along, the more they get pulled into their ego, the more they believe the archonic voices, the more they fall into this pit. Okay, the more of a vicious pit it becomes. Okay, the more depression, loneliness, and tendency to want addiction or control others or be an energy vampire grows. Because without equanimity, you lose touch with the human family. You can't even remember that we're all the same stuff. When you get people who believe these voices, it's really sad. So the voices of a hero narcissist trying to save you are the false self. I'll say it one more time. It bears repeating for those who didn't hear me the first time. How do I discern that fact? The false self never has equal respect or equanimity. That imposter self has no respect at all. In reality, that is why it must come through religious dogma, or through, government mind control, media, inverted Illuminati media, mainstream media complex mind control, or inverted codependency concepts from hijacked minds. The Bible thumpers have to reach down to help you. Let me save you. I mean, how respectful is their personal psychology? How well do they treat their children? Are they involved with any abusive, psychological or physically abusive things? The government must only give handouts and print out a lot of money and give it to a lot of, disabled, poor, and sick people in California. Maybe South Carolina's free technical college, the fact that technical colleges in South Carolina are free is a really wonderful, wonderful thing the government's doing to try to, increase people's learning and awareness, people to get skills to make a living. Maybe South Carolina's free technical college, it's an exception to the rule. And there's several others out there, like the president who was in office when I was born. His name is Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter started this not-for-profit called Habitat for Humanity, where you go and they give you a big 9-pound hammer and they teach you how to become a carpenter, and you build houses. And you build houses, and you build houses, and you log in hours. And after you've worked so many 100, 200 hours or whatever, then they go with the construction crew, and you go and you build yourself a house. Now see, Jimmy Carter was the only president that I know of. Some people say Trump was the only other one besides Jimmy Carter since JFK. Well, maybe JFK ran, I guess JFK and Carter ran spy missions. But, the Iran-Contra affair, but Jimmy Carter just only ran like hostage and spy missions, not actually bloody war. Why? Because he was in a submarine captain in, I believe, the Korean War himself. He was in the front lines of war. He knew how bloody fucking evil it is, and he didn't want to do it, but he did run a hostage deal, the Iran-Contra thing, I'm pretty sure. So he started the Habitat for Humanity. Then in Santa Cruz, California, they have one called the Homeless Garden Project, and it's a program 4 hours a day. You do organic gardening in the morning, and then they feed you a big lunch they make mostly with the food from the garden. And it's a 1-year program. It's not only for homeless, for any people who want to learn the job skills. And after 1 year, you're a certified California organic farmer. And they teach you everything from composting to how to do the nutrients, and over the course of a year. And another one also in Santa Cruz, it's my only reference point living there for 20 years, it's called the Bicycle Church. And it's a wonderful not-for-profit where they ask for roughly $6 an hour, but if you don't have it, you don't have to pay anything to rent the tools and the space to put your bike up on the stand, and they put the right fancy-dancy bicycle mechanic's tool in your hand, and you fix your own bicycle, and they teach you how to do it. Now, being there for 20 years, if I had learned all I learned there in the course of 1 or 2 or 3 years, I'd probably go apply to be a bicycle mechanic over here. But it was over the course of over 2 decades, and I was really stoned most of those times because there was a lot of ghosts and evil demons, entities, archonic spirits all around a lot of those people, and it's at the location it's at now. It used to be a Chinese brothel 120 years ago, so it's intense. Anyway, but those are exceptions. Some government and some local non-for-profits are exceptions to the rule, and they empower you. Or the Trident Technical College, some state colleges, that's pretty awesome, right? It must be rare. There are some parts of the system that can empower you. I'm just saying, it's like the Eric Clapton song, it's in the way that you use it. Also, if you can smudge the money, it just depends. Some people could do that, but it's rare. unfortunately. Just like not-for-profits helping are rare, unfortunately. Usually they line their pocket and do the bare minimum. So, but there are not-for-profits that are really helping people helping people up, as these are empowering folks to take care of themselves, which is the goal of all of these videos, is to help you psychologically and spiritually remember how to do the basic baby steps to spiritually and psychologically take care of yourself. You know, they are tragically rare exceptions, though, the ones I just mentioned here. No, so few want to listen. So many people are still stuck on stupid, with the damn Freddie Dunning-Kruger effect. Okay, the Freddie Dunning-Kruger effect is haunting so many normies, thinking they have to believe the Matrix lies. No, so few want to listen to what I have to say, because we have all been conditioned by our ET slave masters to stay in line. Stay farm animals. Never discern. Be very afraid of the junior gods. Be afraid of questioning God. Be very afraid of the inherent mental, psychological responsibility and awakening and shadow work and waking up to the truth you're going to have to go through if you want to wake up. Just as I have been coerced into the collective CNPD financial laziness of learned helplessness. The dumbest shit I've ever done is caved into learned helplessness just because I have a usually deadly, or actually two usually deadly, systematic blood and energy diseases, cancer and blood disease. The voice of the false self is too much. Okay? The voice of the false self is too much in control of the majority of lost human souls to even admit the truth of what Robert Falconer in the Santa Cruz Mountains actually calls the porosity of mind. Which is, again, as I said so many hundreds of times, folks, you can call me a psychotic schizophrenic till the cows come home. It's not going to change the fact that, science and the CIA and everyone just recently had to admit that it's a fact. I mean, like I say, probably one of my favorite Hollywood movies. They had to act like it was a comedy because Hollywood's run by the Illuminati, but it's really a documentary, a silly-ass documentary that's awesome and wonderful, which I've already referenced in this video, The Men Who Stare at Goats. That's a documentary. So, the Buddhists will tell you, but no other tradition has, besides shamanism, has the courage, and of course those are the two of the few that I'll teach you. No, they want to put their dogma and their controller ideas in your subconscious to control it, and that's how it's done, right? So, anyway, Robert Falconer, very few of human souls want to ever admit the truth of what Robert Falconer accurately calls the porosity of mind. All of us in the grips of hero or covert narcissistic personality disorder systems must face our psychological laziness, or we will fall back into believing the fear-based, sick, derogatory commands and stupid implanted ideas of the fake gods. The introject, what psychologists call the introjects of the false self, the Archontic voices. Yes, it is a requirement to meditate or do something else equally powerful. Whatever you can do that you can get yourself to do every day that's equally powerful, to deep breath work for an hour, to do something else, to disengage with the imposter God's voice beaming in all of our heads all the time, whenever they can, daily, lest we regress into an ugly, louche meal, one day at a time. Each day that you regress, each day you forget to hold the faith in the Holy Mother Christ Sophia in your heart, which is peaceful and respectful. Each time you believe the evil voices of the Dark Lords, you got to forgive yourself if you're not a Catholic. But you know what? Like I say, they're never going to give up. So allow yourself to remember to never give up on being respectful, okay? And lest we regress into an ugly loose meal. It takes a lot of courage, folks. I'm not going to lie. It takes a lot of efforts for most of us. We've been brainwashed into the matrix for so many decades and millenniums. It takes a lot of courage, a lot of efforts, a lot of tenacity, a lot of patience, and a lot of self-respect to break free from these often internal trauma bonds. Okay? I be truth in strong works, yet I am always going to be a liar and covert narcissistic personality disorder enmeshment. If I go back, if I regress, if I do something in codependency, I'm probably on some subtle level lying to myself and the other person to be a vampire, because that's what it is. Okay? Unless I'm willing to do the shadow work 100%, I'm a double agent. I'm a hypocrite. Okay? Maybe a tiny percent. But the thing is that being willing to shine the light of Christ Sophia on everything, realizing that when I tell you there are no secrets, I'm not just saying that as a euphemism to be cute or to pretend like I'm a master or something. No, it's because it's not just me who thought of UTAT till it's only the one. Okay, like hundreds of other people are doing that too. Okay, the Aquarius governs gadgetry, and guess what? We're beyond secrets now, and the gadgetry was part of how we did that. Okay, so there's a reason why one of my favorite, if not my favorite, live show on YouTube now is called Disclosure Now. I think this young man was in the secret space program, and he got abused in it, and now he's exposing it. And he's finally able to make a living doing it. He just came out with this book in their first conference a few months ago. Bless their heart, and they're doing great work. And you know what I really love about it is he doesn't go behind gatekeepers. He doesn't do the controlled Chinese water torture drip disclosure bullshit. He knows how to keep it so that he doesn't get kicked off, but he tells you the truth. And he talks about a lot of things, or half dozen things nobody else has the courage to say. And so that's why, and he makes me feel, even though he's a Leo or a Taurus or whatever it is, and Jewish, he treats me with equal respect. And that's the future. Why he deserves to be monetized and making money now, because in any way that I'm hypocritical, any way that I'm dualistic, in any way that I was born the year of the snake. If I'm being a snake, I'll pay. You know what I mean? So as long as I, to any degree, am stuck in that trauma bond, I'm going to suffer. We each must accept the responsibility to turn off Radio 666, to change the channel, or better yet, to raise your base frequency and the frequency dial, so that the Archontic voice, you'll never be dumb enough to think that you want to manipulate somebody else or get depressed or kill yourself or kill someone else, just because this loud-ass evil voice that's not really yours is telling everyone dumb shit like that. It's not a good reason. And eventually we'll figure out, we'll just explode the moon or send it back to wherever it came from, because it's a fake. And we'll get rid of the transmissions, and we'll even clean up planet Saturn at some point, in the next, during the end of the age of Aquarius, or maybe the next age of Capricorn. During the age of Capricorn, yeah, that makes sense. During the age of Capricorn, we'll be forced to clean up Saturn, okay? It's going to be maybe before that. What do you guys think? So turn off Radio 666, change the channel, raise your base frequency, or otherwise replace the habits that are harmful, and replace the habits and patterns that keep us enmeshed to the liars, or they will creep back ever so masterfully wherever you're weak. Lucifer has so many tricks, man. He can come through wherever you're being weak, whenever you're acting like an idiot at all, whenever you're willing to be lazy as fuck at all, whenever you're willing to be codependent, whenever you think for a second that someone else is going to rescue you, that Quetzalcoatl or Jesus is going to come down and you don't have to do anything. When you get lazy, then he comes right on in. They will creep back in, however subtly, And worse, the false self in all pathologically narcissistic people, and even more so, in hero, narcissist, and narcissist collectives, must be the boss. Oh, don't you forget it. They're not going to let you know. They're better than you. They're here to rescue you. They're never going to have equal respect. It's all about how amazing and brilliant they are, man. All the times they've saved you or other people, they're saving everything. They're going to single-handedly, or them and their wife or husband, man, they're going to save the whole world. That couple's going to save the world, man. Okay? They must be the boss over you, in control over you, keeping you little, discouraged, making you afraid. If without them, you wouldn't be able to do it. They won't stop putting you in your place with gaslighting and triangulation, possibly if they're really sick. Eventually, sooner or later, you'll see red lights. You'll see signs that they're triangulating, or you'll know when they're gaslighting you because they'll be putting you down. And you're like, what the fuck? This person was so kind and nice, and they're gonna save my life, and now they forget I exist, and they're putting me down. What the fuck? So they leave no possibility of equal respect. They never give you equal respect. And this person can still, maybe some of you, myself included, some of those 4 or 5 people in my life that did that, if I saw them again, I could still have a good time and be seduced and be polite and have a joyful exchange with them. But of course, I'll never trust them if they don't work on healing these problems. If they don't even admit that these problems exist. That's why none of those people, very few of them except maybe my bloodkins, can ever watch my content. Because they're not willing to face the mirror box that they get stuck in when they get... And of course, I agree with Sam Vaknin's claim that NPD comes from extreme trauma. Or it's exasperated by that, I would say. Okay? So, also the fake self-voices will never let... they'll never let them watch the videos. There's no possibility of equal respect if you get into a relationship with a narcissist, with all normies. All narcissists all narcissists that become possessed by the false self will drain you. Okay? Hero narcissists are no different. How you doing?
Hi. Are you writing a book?
I'm just making a YouTube video. So even though they're this rescuer that's coming to save your life, if they have hero or collective narcissism, you're going to be able to find signs that they're really just here because they want to be Superman, and they need to be this Superman, It's an image. Worse, the false self and all pathologically narcissistic people, narcissistic people, and even more so in the hero narcissist, the narcissist collective must be the boss, in control, keeping you little, discouraged. They won't stop putting you in your place, gaslighting and triangulating you. Okay, and when you take the love bombing bait, it can take a while to trust. Okay, if you're trying to heal from this type of person, or this group of people that came to save you, and you find out they're only about themselves, it can take a while before you trust that there really are kind and good people out there again. Because this person gave you so much, man. They were so amazing. They gave you everything that you could possibly want. It could take a long time it could take years sometimes to build the self-trust again, because every time somebody's really nice to you, you're going to think, it could be this pathological person who they have to rescue, it could be this hero person that's only thinking about themselves, and these people might actually, if you confront them with it, come with purest empathy. But then again, when they're angry or when they're depressed, or rather when they're anxious is really what it is. When they're anxious, they'll let you know that they're all about themselves. Okay, so it's really challenging to go. The next time someone just dazzles you like that, if you find somebody really overwhelmingly, bedazzlingly awesome, it's natural to not want to trust them after you've been through that, And so, but eventually you'll realize that you can trust yourself to see those red flags, And this person might have like in my life, it's been more than one of them, like several. This person might give you everything you need to survive as a little bitty 3D egoic version of yourself. But remember, this person is a hero in a mirror. This person is a hero stuck in a mirror, in a little mirror box. And you'll notice when they're angry or when they're in a hurry or when they're upset, all they're looking at is this hero in the mirror. That's all they can see is themselves as this hero. And all of a sudden you don't exist. When they're real stressed out, they won't have any respect for anyone else because they're this hero in a mirror. And again, I'm still healing from this, from within myself, from this, from several different entities in California and here that coming out of these cycles, and so or they even supply you with everything that the little you needs, as it seems. Any of us who fell for these scams must have narcissistic tendencies. Like, for example, if you were disabled, or if you were homeless or alcoholic or on drugs or whatever, vulnerable, or if you were traumatized by your parents or coworkers or military or whatever, and you're on the streets and you take the handouts or you get food stamps or welfare or you become codependent, you're vulnerable, right? You're in a vulnerable space. It's true. So they come. So these hero narcissist collectives will come and offer you to give you everything that you need, like in the COVID fires, they were giving the homeless motels, and they'll come and give you everything you need. So, and but if you or I or any of us weren't narcissistic at all, why would we accept the handout at all? You see, so there is some truth in that idea. So, to even believe the love bombing, to even accept these huge love bombs. So no matter how kind or loving and altruistic a covert, deflated, or hero or collective of narcissists seem to be, if you take the bait and emotionally enmesh with them and listen to their so-called feelings, it will always have a huge hook on your dreams, your expansion of your plans, your love, your joy, and it could make you depressed, and especially social awareness and efficacy, what's called efficacy, social and even financial, in my case, efficacy. You will feel erased if you're not, really clear-headed, if you're not willing to somehow 105% do the shadow work and clear discernment. Don't fall into their black hole, okay? Look for these red flag signs I give you. The next time somebody tries somebody tries to convince you they're going to rescue you, okay? As Sam Vaknin entitled one of his videos, "Beware of Rescuers," okay? Because if you take the bait and emotionally enmesh with them, listen to their so-called feelings, it will always have a huge hook. Your dreams, expansion, joy, and especially social awareness and your feeling of efficacy. Instead of efficacy, you could have that replaced with learned helplessness. You might just feel erased if you're not somehow 105% in clear discernment. Don't fall into their black hole. The false self is really sucks. Okay? All the false self can do is suck. Remember that. The archonic voices that tell you, the voice in your head that tells you to be depressed, to harm yourself or anyone else with drugs or violence, those voices can only suck. They can never give you life. They can never allow you to live or help you to live. Don't believe they're you. You are that respectful voice that tells you to be good within your heart. Since I began transmissions, I have seen, especially those couple of people that were certain they were going to rescue me, and even one or two of them that promised equanimity to me, but were secretly covert narcissist, hero narcissist. Okay? They could never watch one video. Okay? I have seen, especially amongst those people when I try to be benevolent around them, a raging denial that they have any personality problems at all. This is what you can expect if you try to confront a hero narcissist. They're gonna have a raging denial because they're here to rescue you, man. They're perfect. They're God's chosen one, man. The voice of God has told them to come rescue you, man. They're a shining, bright, shining, perfect angel of the Lord, man. They're here to save everything. They're a conquistador, man. They're one of Hitler's SS, They're here to purify the world of all the neurodivergent or the whatever you want to call me or a Jewish person. They're here to get the racial cleansing. They're, okay? No. Any derogatory voice in your head is not the real self. Get it straight. I am no hero or victim. I am a potentially great or potentially decent human being. Because human beings are potentially great, decent, or horrible, with flaws and benevolence. Like almost probably every single embodied soul and flesh suit that has a voice on this divine sacred globe, the Gaia, planet Gaia. The false self of the hero narcissist can never admit to wrongdoing, ever, or equanimity, ever. Equal respect, no way, not possible. They will always be better than you. Always in the cycle of narcissistic abuse, go from giving you everything to having no respect for you all of a sudden. Because the archons are never real. Because the voices of the false self will never have respect. Okay? I welcome all feedback to this video. But again, if you want to post something on YouTube, you have to self-censor. However, no matter what Alphabet or Trump and Thiel think, I am seriously here to help you awaken, become respectful, and to remember to live or at least exist in the divine Christ Goddess. Gnosis of the awareness of the oneness is the reality amongst the awakened. They don't have to harm others. They're not that insecure. They don't intend to fall back into a black hole because everybody else is doing it. They're aware. Okay? And that's what I want to help anyone who's ready to help themselves to achieve. So, I am here to help you help yourself. I am here for your clarity. And if you enjoyed this, if you haven't already, make sure to click the subscribe button on YouTube. Follow me on Odyssey.com or Rumble if you want to take more of a bloody red pill to learn more of the parts of the dark side I can't talk about on YouTube and what we can do to overcome that. Check me on those on Rumble or Odyssey. And of course, let me know what you thought. Again, as always, my family, if you have the courage, create a great day. It's amazingly beautiful here in Charleston, and I'm loving this 93 degrees.